Okay, so Sun and Moon, when they're together for Aries ascendant. For Aries ascendant, this, as long as it doesn't occur in a sixth house, and probably, also 12th house, because Sun doesn't do very well in the 12th house, as long as it happens in the first, in one of the angular houses, well, apart from the seventh house, because that's where in Libra, Sun is debilitated. But yeah, as long as it falls in first, fourth, or 10th house, or it falls in the fifth or the ninth house, this is going to be fantastic. This is going to be Raja Yoga, of the highest standards. Both planets are very good for Aries. They're both friendly with the with Mars, which rules this ascendant. So if it is in the first house, Sun is going to be exalted. If it's in the second house, Moon is going to be exalted. I probably will say not so good for the Moon being in Gemini, but definitely very good if it is in Cancer, because obviously Moon's strong, Sun is in a friendly sign. It's again the same like in this, Sun and Moon together there. Fantastic Raja Yoga there. We want to avoid the sixth house. In the seventh house, Sun is going to be very weak. But Moon will be strong because Moon likes being, in Venus's sign. In the eighth house, obviously, this is where Moon is debilitated, but Sun is strong. But again, it's not very good. Sun, I think, by the sheer fact that it's got to be the planet of dignity, integrity, is very good if it's not in the secret houses, 8th or particularly 12th house. In the 9th house will be amazing because it brings 4th and 5th house really in the 9th house. So it's going to be creating wonderful yogas there, very good. In the 10th house, Sun will have directional strength. Both of them will be in enemy signs. So they'll be very, very dedicated, and but there's going to be lack of balance there. But from there, Moon will be protecting the 4th house. But it's going to be too much focus in the on work and how people see them. So it's going to be this like a power couple that are just all to do with business, and everything they do, so it's going to give them very little time to be with the family. In the 11th house, Sun is going to protect its own sign, but both of them again are in a difficult sign because they're not friendly with Saturn. And in the 12th house, it's going to be, Moon does pretty well in the 12th house because it's a reflective planet, but Sun, it's not so good. So yeah, and obviously depending on nakshatras too, because they make a massive difference in the feeling behind it too. But so yeah, that's as you can see, this Moon on this side now, Moon here is in front. So this is actually a shukla or a waxing Moon. So it's breaking free from the Sun. So it's more freedom seeking Moon than it is if it was behind, if it was say 8 degrees or so, but it's nonetheless there's combust by the Sun. So if we go to the next ascendant for Taurus ascendant, this will be Sun rules the 4th house, Moon the 3rd. So this could be very much to do always moving, 3rd house and 4th house. 3rd house is 12th houses from the 4th house. So mom and dad are always moving. There's like moving from one house to the other, one country to the other, that kind of thing. It's not so bad. I mean, obviously in this one, 4th house really is in the 4th house. So it's pretty good in that sense. Moon's got directional strength there too. But generally speaking, obviously, if it falls in a trinal house, will be good. So if both of them fall into the 1st house, Moon will be exalted Moon. So that would be amazing. And if it falls also in the 9th house, it's not a friendly sign to them, but nonetheless, though, mom and dad will fall into that. So it's a nice yoga in that sense, because this angular house lord is in the trinal house, so it gives a nice Raja Yoga. If in the case of if he falls into the 7th house, Sun will be acting as debilitated, Moon is in debilitation sign, so that would be pretty weak there. But if it falls into the 12th house, sun will be exalted, but I wouldn't call that a really strong position for the sun, because obviously sun is exalted, but it's also in the 12th house. Sun needs to be radiating out, not be secretive. You know, you don't want secretive bosses or governments and things like that. And so in the 10th house for them, so it will be, you know, sun from there will be aspecting their own sign, so that will be good, protect the you know, home and things like that. So this could be somebody who will be in the arts, something creative in that sense. So yeah, depending, as long as it doesn't go into the 6th house. 6th house will be difficult for all yogas, will be broken, and sun will be debilitated for them. Then we have Gemini ascendant. We have 1st and 4th house ruler Mercury with the 3rd house ruler. Again, this is a situation where 3rd and 4th house issues are going on, so they could always be moving, that kind of stuff. But sorry, 2nd house and 3rd house ruler. Oh dear, sorry, just like I'm doing so many videos at the same time, got that confused. So yeah, so it's like 2nd and 3rd house ruler. So this person could actually have a wonderful voice. Sun and moon are friendly towards each other. 2nd house is family. They could be a really chatty family. They could all have lovely voices, particularly if it falls into a nice house. So if they fall like in Leo, will be nice, but if also falls in Cancer, that's really nice too. They're really communicative and very like friendly towards each other as a family. And if they fall into the 4th house, what will happen is moon will have directional strength. It doesn't like being in Mercury signs, but it still will be pretty good. In the 1st house, also, you know, sun will be quite strong there, you know, Mercury, but moon will be in Mercury sign, so again a little bit agitated there, but they work well if it's in the 2nd or 3rd house. In the 5th house, sun will be debilitated there. Moon will be debilitated in Scorpio in the 6th house, and that will just literally will break any yogas anyway, so it's not so good. But sun does well in the 6th house, just it will not be very good for the moon. You know, both of them do pretty well in Sagittarius, although sun will be acting as debilitated because it's the 7th house, but both friendly sign to both of them. In the 8th house, obviously, moon will be acting as though it's debilitated because it feels a little bit like Scorpio, but it's like sun and moon together there. It's just like, you know, both mom and dad could have gone through some turbulent times, you know, the same as if they go into the 6th house, you know, it could have had a turbulent life together, you know, so just be aware that they could have struggled too. In the 9th house, obviously, it's going to be good. In this, going back into the 8th house. Having said that, though, because, you know, 8th house is difficult, it's sudden changes and everything, but nonetheless, though, it's still aspecting moon is protecting Cancer from there. Now in the 9th house, sun will be aspecting own sign Leo, protecting the 3rd house, so they'll be very good with friends and information communication. They'd be quite authoritative communication, and their father could be a teacher, could be like work, you know, for a big organization, that kind of thing. And then if it's in the 10th house, sun will have directional strength, friendly sign to both sun and the moon, so that'd be really nice. And in the 11th house, sun will be exalted, so this will be very nice, and they're both in friendly sign. And in the 12th house, moon will be exalted, whereas sun in the 12th house can be a little bit difficult. So let's go for the next ascendant. Cancer ascendant, for you guys, moon is the ruler of your 1st house. Obviously, when it's together with the sun, it brings 1st and 2nd house, so it's very good for money, good for family. They can be very good at, or they get family money, or they go out and create that family money, family resources and values. So this is pretty nice. Great in the 1st house, great in the 2nd house. In the 3rd house, not so good for the moon, doesn't like being Mercury signs. Sun will be good there, though. Sun works really well in Virgo and in Gemini. In the 4th house, moon will have directional strength. Sun will be weak because sun is obviously is debilitated in Libra, but it's also aspect in the 10th house. So it's that aspect will be very good for the career. They say could do some sort of like maybe work on real estate, property development, that sort of stuff. And in the 5th house, moon will be debilitated, sun will be strong. Both of them in friendly sign though, so it's a funny old situation, that one. Yeah, so but it does create nice yogas too, and done yoga too, because it'll be 2nd house ruler in the 5th house, 1st house ruler in the 5th house. So nice Raja yoga too, but it is weak. In the 6th house, it'll break any yogas, but it'd be very good for education, working for some form of education, like university or some kind of institution for teaching, learning, or even religious studies. In the 7th house, obviously, what happens here is Sun feels as though it's in Libra, so it feels like not so strong. Both of them don't like being in Saturn signs, enemy to Saturn, but from their moon is aspect in the 1st house, so protecting the 1st house. And then we have, but they'd be very hardworking. Mom and dad both will be hardworking and really upward family. You know, they're successful, career-minded. And in the 8th house, obviously, again, they're in enemy sign and not very good, really. Moon feels debilitated, has got Scorpio feeling, and the sun is strong in the 8th house, and so. But yeah, it can have some issues at the beginning of life. In the 9th house, both of them will like being the friendly sign. It creates lovely Rajandala yoga for them too. In the 10th house, well, what can I say? Sun's got directional strength and is exalted too. That would be amazing job. They would probably are in military, a leader, a boss, politician, that kind of thing. Be good. They would definitely shine at work. And for if it's in the 11th house, moon itself will be strong there, so exalted, and sun is an enemy sign, but moon will help it. In the 12th house, not great for the moon, doesn't like to be in Mercury sign, and also sun in the 12th house, a little bit difficult. So there's going to be some issues letting go, holding on to bad emotions, all that kind. You've got to detangle yourself from overthinking. Next one, Leo ascendant, is obviously brings 12th and 11th house ruler together. So 12th house doesn't break any yogas, but it's not great. So it just means that this person is always completing things, or endings will be difficult for them, or they can't let go. And they always, this situation that someone wants to get on with their moon is always holding them back in that sense. So, but it could also be that there is like the dad can be like stepdad, or the mum could be the stepmom, that sort of thing going on. You know, there's something secretive about dad or mum. They might have some difficulties. They could have been ill, because 12th house is rejuvenation house too. So, or they could be, as I said, foreign, live abroad, that kind of thing. In the 1st house, obviously, sun is in own sign. It's nice and strong. Moon being there as well. But, you know, sun and moon together, if it's in your 1st house, it is still going to really make you shine, because they're both luminaries. So they are going to make you really stand out in a sense. They probably will be very attractive too, because moon is attractive and sun is an attractive planet too. If they're in the 2nd house, sun will be very strong there, likes being in Mercury signs, and it creates nice yoga for wealth. And moon doesn't like being in there, obviously, but, you know, be emotionally sort of attached to the family, can have a family that's slightly critical. And then also brings 12th house ruler in the 2nd house, so they'll be always spending money. In the 3rd house, sun will be debilitated, moon will be stronger there, and so in the 3rd house, so they have issues like expressing themselves. Sometimes I think sun that's weak is not such a bad thing. They don't come from ego. They, you know, they're more humble. In the 4th house, moon will be debilitated, but it'll have directional strength, which is amazing, and sun will be aspecting their 10th house, which is fantastic from there. But it will be a dad that rules the roost, in a sense, rules the home life, and they could be a bit bossy dads. And in the 5th house, they both like being in Sagittarius, and it could just be that there's something different about their child. Maybe they've actually fostered the child or adopted the child, or they could have foreign students. They advise people from different backgrounds, that kind of thing. This could be quite nice yoga as well. 1st house ruler in the 5th house, nice Raja yoga. And in the 6th house, obviously sun and moon together, there's somebody who's very, very career minded. Mum is career minded, dad. They both can be educational or work for the government institutions, things like that. Both mum and dad hardworking, both of them. But moon will actually be protecting its own sign there. But both of family very ambitious, mum and dad. And then if it's in the 7th house, sun is going to feel slightly debilitated, doesn't like being in the 7th house. Moon, however, will be like the stronger one out of the two. But they both, at the end, they are in enemy sign. And, you know, Aquarius makes people very kind of stubborn too. So both mum and dad are quite stubborn. So if they had an argument, neither of them will back down. In the 8th house, moon will be feeling, although it's Jupiter sign, moon, it's a friendly sign to both sun and moon, but you know, it's moon feels a little bit weak there because sudden changes and letting go is hard. Sun will help the moon though in that case. In the 9th house, sun will be exalted, will be amazing. Moon also, you know, doesn't break any yogas, so it's pretty good there. And in the 11th house, in the 10th house, yes, sun will not only be exalted, it'll have directional strength too. In the 11th house, no, in the 9th house, sorry. In the 10th house, so sun hasn't got directional strength, apologies. Sun, you know, will be exalted, will be good there. So would the moon. But there'll be, you know, dad could be slightly aloof. 12th house ruler in the 9th house. So there could be something about that. There's a bit aloof, something secretive about that. You know, maybe he's gone through some difficult times. In the 10th house, moon will be exalted. Sun has got directional strength, so it'd be amazing for both. And even though sun doesn't like being there, but it'll have directional strength, which is even better. And in the 11th house, sun will be in friendly sign, moon will struggle there. It's 12th house ruler, so as they gain, they will be spending it too. And in the 12th house, moon obviously in own sign, sun will be in the 12th house. It just means that vitality can get some knock in there, and there could be something that you know, some issues with that could also come across, and the person might just feel a little bit addicted, a little bit out of control at the beginning, you know, but as they get older, they can overcome those issues. Okay, next one. For Virgo Ascendant, this brings together 11th and 12th house ruler together. So basically, this will be a situation as soon as they earn money, gain, they spend there. So there's an issue with money there, really, and addictions, and they could be addicted to spending. They could just can't let go. And so there's that pattern, you know, issues with friends. Some of their friends could be secret enemies to them. So, you know, put those two together. So in the 1st house, you know, the person cannot let go. The person is could be slightly addicted, or could be that they come from a family where mum and dad had issues like that. So bear that in mind. But 11th house ruler in the 1st house can also be a really nice done yoga for wealth. But they have to hold on to that and invest it well. So with time, that will happen. If it's in the 2nd house, what will happen is obviously 12th house ruler will be in the 2nd house. It will be debilitated. So there'll be a real weakness about spending money on the family, you know, and this could be an issue. So a massive issue with money there. And 11th house ruler in the 2nd house, they'll be very good at earning the money, but they'll be very good at spending it too. So they could get themselves into hot water, if you like. And then if it is in the 4th house, moon will have directional strength. It'd be 11th house ruler. Sorry, in the 3rd house. Oh dear. You know when you've been doing too many videos, you can do this. So 11th house ruler in the 3rd house for the moon would be debilitated. So some of the friends could let them down. They could be emotionally, you know, tangling themselves up with what the friends said, you know, what they communicated. You know, they just got to learn to let go. Some will probably help that. Some will help them let go of those things eventually, but that, you know, just realize that you just collect better friends, you just have better boundaries in place, and maybe you yourself are creating those issues. And okay, so if it is in their 4th house, then sun and moon in the 4th house. Moon will be 11th house ruler in the 4th house, so you gain property from your family, from your mum maybe. And but that could be like you know, not available to you as you're growing up. So mother can be like the person who is in charge of looking after you. If they are it could also be that, you know, both because it's the family, both they could be quite close to each other as a family, but there could also be some family secrets as well because of the 12th house issue there. Or they could live abroad, you know, or drive foreign cars. In the 5th house, this will be 11th and 12th house ruler in the 5th house. So it could just be that they advise some clients that are from foreign cultures. They teach for foreign students. Their students are slightly different, so that maybe they have learning difficulties or something. Investments will not be a good thing. There can be losses to do with that, and that could create some sort of serious issues with addictions and massive expenses. So be careful with that one. If it goes in the 6th house, obviously it breaks all the yogas anyway, but it'll be good in a sense that mom and dad both work for very big organizations and they work really hard. They could be physicians, doctors, things like that. Both mom and dad come from that kind of background, and you too could also be of service too. If it's in the 7th house, sun and moon both like being in Jupiter signs, in a friendly sign. Sun is going to feel debilitated, however moon will help it there. So with Jupiter, really, Jupiter sign will help them as well. But it's like, you know, their family, mum and dad, are really known within the within society. They can be quite famous and everything, but it could just still, it's the 12th house natural zodiac too, so there could be some, they go through some hardship, you know, mom and dad, that kind of thing, but it is quite dignified. They could be quite, you know, they could overstretch themselves by trying to help others, be charitable, and actually be at a loss themselves. In the 8th house, obviously, moon is going to feel debilitated because obviously it's debilitation house for the moon, but nonetheless friendly sign to both of them, and sun will be exalted. So this sudden changes and everything else, they can gain quite well through that. Then if it goes in the 9th house, moon will be exalted. So this will be moon 11th house ruler in the 9th house. So it'd be nice and strong, nice Dana yoga. So this would be like the dad, there could be you know, loving parents. It could also be that or it could, the father could be ill, could, you know, but nonetheless though, it's good in some ways, but it's because it brings 12th house. 12th house has loss, or it could be somebody whose dad is really spiritual, mom and dad are very spiritual, and it'd be very good for higher education, travel, and publishing work as well, because it's been a sign, so it'd be a very good teacher who can publish books, etc. If it's in the 10th house, sun will be in friendly sign and will have directional strength. Moon will be weak because of the way this, you know, doesn't work so well in Mercury signs. So this could be like a work that is work behind the scenes in a laboratory, you know, some sort of secret thing going on there because of 12th house. Working abroad, working with foreign politicians, ambassadors, etc., things like that. But some will be very strong there. In the 11th house, moon rules the 11th house and being there as well, so be nice and strong. Sun will make you spend that money, so they have really, really good, important friends and everything. And being with those groups, secret networks and groups, secret societies, maybe even. There'll be some losses as well to do with that, some addictions. In the 12th house, sun will be strong, moon will be like, so moon will be creating the money and sun will be spending it, if you like. So this could be somebody also, mum and dad have had some sort of health problems, or they don't really know their parents very well. Even if they were present, maybe they were aloof, or maybe they just don't know them because they were adopted. Or there's secrets about both mum and dad there too. Or they could both have had, as I said, addiction issues to do with that. Right, next one. Libra ascendant, this brings together 11th house ruler sun and 10th house ruler moon. So this is very good. So they gain a lot at work. They could be very much like, if it's in the first house, sun will be debilitated, moon will be stronger. And both of them create Raja yogas anyway, albeit sun is weak, but nonetheless, they still create yogas. In the second house, moon will be debilitated, sun will be stronger. So this will be like literally 10th and 11th house. So it'll create a lot of money for them, because sun will create money. 11th house or in the second house, friendly sign too. Moon will be like feeling a little bit like, I think moon just feels quite, fragile and sensitive, changeable in Scorpio. In the third house, both of them are in a friendly sign. They love talking. They love their friends. They have really important friends, very educated friends, because of Sagittarius, very focused. And they do fun things together. They do a lot of traveling with each other. They do a lot of traveling with work. They have massive networks amongst them as very important people. In the fourth house, moon will have direction, strength. Sun, obviously, it has got no direction there, but moon will help it. But nonetheless, though, they're both kind of in enemy sign. But it is, after all, Capricorn, and it makes mum and dad, both of them, or even your friends and work, will be very, what you call, very career-minded, very ambitious parents. It makes you quite like that as well. Moon will be from their aspect in the 10th house, protecting it. So they will be literally at home and at work. They'd be very powerful couple, mum and dad, and you probably will create the same as well. Very ambitious, hardworking family. In the 5th house, obviously both again don't like being in Saturn sun, but nonetheless they could be quite strict with their children in that sign, because they'd be like putting them into all different groups after school to do this, do that, because their children, there's an expectation there of their children. It's quite nice to be nice. But from their sun will be aspect in the 11th house of friends, gains, that kind of thing. In the 6th house, obviously breaks all the good yogas, but there could be medics there, nurses, doctors, that kind of thing. Very much service with the others, lab technicians. In the 7th house, obviously sun is debilitated and exalted. Feels debilitated, but it's exalted. This is a very strange situation. And moon obviously would be, but this will be somebody who actually is maybe in military, maybe because it's like 10 houses from 10th house, 7 houses. So, but literally respected at work, respected around people, people in their groups of friends and everything, highly recognized. When you got luminaries in the angles, this is strong. So this is very strong. Sun is strong, moon is strong. They're both in friendly sign. It's amazing. They're highly respected. In the 8th house, moon will be exalted, even though it has got very strong, as I said, it's got that connotation of Scorpio, but nonetheless, so they will be not too bad about sudden changes in work. They might do some research at work. They might do a secretive job, secret friends, secret societies, etc., etc. Oh dear. And so then we have, but generally speaking though, it's strong, that's 10th house rule is strong. So their job could be private detectives and they'd be good at it. Amazing. Ninth house, so moon obviously doesn't like being in that, but it creates a lovely Raja Yoga 10th house rule in the ninth house, and it's also sitting there with the 11th house rule. It creates fantastic yogas there. Very good. And yeah, accomplishment, educated, well traveled, refined person. In the 10th house, moon is strong, and 10th house ruler, 11th house ruler together in there, so it's very good for work. Sun has also got directional strength there. In the 11th house, Sun is in own sign with the 11th, with the 10th house ruler, again, very accomplished, very respected amongst their groups of friends. Elder sibling could be very, very successful. And if they're in the 12th house, moon will feel like, doesn't like being in Virgo, but you know, Sun and moon, both of them, mum and dad, could be very critical. You know, friends can be quite critical. You gain and you spend money, so there could be issues with addictions there, and spending, not being able to let go. So just like the more spiritual you become, the better this situation. Then let's do Scorpio ascendant for you guys. We have 9 and 10th house ruler together, so that would be pretty amazing. If it's in the first house, moon will be debilitated. However, it does also create a Raja Yoga, and Sun also creates Raja Yoga there too, so it's multiple Dhan and Raja Yogas going on there, and the person will be highly respected. Mum and dad will be highly respected. There is something secretive about the family though, because Scorpio is naturally like that, but they could be quite changeable parents too, because the nature of Scorpio. Second, if this is in the second house, then you have like in friendly signs, so you know that there is mum and dad's sing from the same hymn sheet to the family, and they could be quite a religious family, traditional family, well traveled, educated. If it's in the third house, Sun, obviously Sun and moon are not in friendly sign. Moon will be aspect in the ninth house, protecting itself, its house, ninth house. So they'll be educated, learned people, very respected. That could be your sibling too. And moon being there too, with sun will be for your 10th house ruler. So 10th and 9th house ruler together anyway. This is like very good in most houses, wherever it goes, apart from the 6th house. But even in the 6th house, sun will be exalted. So yeah, so mom and dad both hard workers, career-minded, ambitious people, very tenacious family. In the 4th house, moon will have directional strength. Sun obviously not as comfortable, but moon and sun helping each other, and sun will be aspect in own sign, 10th house, protecting it. So they could be in property, they could be like in land developing, property developing, car dealing, that kind of thing. In the 5th house, they could be very, you know, because this will bring together like 9th and 10th house ruler in the 5th house. So it's multiple yogas going on there. It's amazing. It's also a house, well, a sign and a house that both will feel comfortable in. So it just goes to show the family, the children, everything. They just know how to have fun. They're really kind of easygoing people. There's a lot of closeness there. There's a lot of compassion, creativity, that kind of thing going on there. In the 6th house, sun will be exalted. Somebody of the job that they do, they probably work for the military, maybe in medical jobs, could be gynecologist, could be like pioneer, inventor, healer, a doctor, multiple things going on there. Could be an educator too. So that's pretty good, but it does break the they'd be successful and shining and everything, but they could be like, it's because the 6th house breaks the yogas really. And in the 7th house, moon will be exalted, so it'd be like literally 9th house ruler in the 7th house. So wonderful marriage that creates a lot of success for them. 9th and 10th house ruler in the 7th house, multiple yogas going on there for success and how people see you too. In the 8th house, obviously moon is not happy in the 8th house. it's like Scorpio, and also in unfriendly sign too. But Sun is happy there. Sun is going to help the Moon there. So the work could be something to do with kind of cyber attacks, cyber security, spying, that kind of thing going on with the job. Or it could be something to do with the dad, could be doing that, something secret about dad. In the ninth house, Moon obviously in own sign, and then 10th house rule is there as well. Some very, very strong yoga, very good. And again, if it happens in Leo, the same, very strong Raja Yoga there, accomplishments, success, etc. If it happens to be in the 11th house, Sun will be very strong there. So they gain a lot, you know, because Moon also creates a Dhan Yoga too. So yeah, will be very strong. In the 12th house, Sun will be debilitated, and it's also in the 12th house. Moon will be stronger there. So, you know, that there could be some things about work, you know, they could they literally could just have issues at work. You know, sometimes they could be, their job could be up and down. They lose a job because they are not maybe committed enough. Maybe they got addiction issues. They got like secret job and that kind of thing. And that could be about mum and dad too, something secret. Maybe they have some issues with health, vitality. Next one is Sagittarius for you guys. Then it is brings together like 8th and 9th house ruler in the first house. So you know that there'll be like changes all the time happening, sudden changes, letting go, all that kind of things. Those are what you're learning about. And 9th house ruler in the first house, that creates a lovely Raja Yoga there. And in the second house, you know, the family is quite conservative. They're very committed to each other. They're all hardworking family. From their Moon will be aspecting the 8th house, looking after that. So there's a lot of changes in their life. They actually cope with that pretty well if it's in the second house. And in the 3rd house, then Sun is actually protecting the 9th house. So although, you know, so the mum will be, the changes in life will be difficult for the mum, but not so difficult for the dad and that kind of thing. But it could just be that they have got a nice speech as well, Sun and Moon together. So, and then the 4th house, Moon and Sun are in friendly sign. Moon has got directional strength. So there could be some kind of difficulties for the mum because it's 8th house ruler in the 4th house. Mum could have just had some chronic health disease. Maybe her life she suffered, that kind of thing. And also 9th house ruler in the 4th house, lovely Raja Yoga, but that probably helped to overcome those. In the 5th house, Sun will be exalted, having family, children, education, investments, although it could be, don't forget that 8th house rule is that they could gain suddenly, but don't always count on it. And just like they could have a child out of wedlock, secret romance, because 8th house is, yeah, but Sun, you know, 9th house or the Sun is exalted there. So yeah, it'll be nice in terms of education, romance, children, students, that kind of thing. In the 6th house, obviously breaks all the yogas, although Moon will create a Viprit Raja Yoga there. It's exalted too. So through some difficulties, changes, challenges and everything, mum could have come through, you will come through service to the others. They could make really good people of service to the others, you know, work on farms or travel industry or, you know, of service to others. In the 7th house, Sun is obviously going to feel a little bit difficult in the 7th house. Nevertheless, it's in the friendly sign. Moon isn't so happy there, but this will happen. It could create like a divorce situation, sudden breakup of relationship at some point, but it doesn't mean that every relationship is like that. So it's just like really knowing how to step into a relationship and getting to know your boundaries. 8th house, you know, just like learn to let go of people that do not serve you. And then in the 9th house, obviously Sun is strong. You know, there could be like, dad could be like up and down, mum could be up and down, that kind of thing. But education, they could be like you suddenly leave education, higher education, that kind of thing, or you could change your belief system too, or the family can. In the 10th house, Sun will be really strong, will create lovely yoga too, and will have directional strength. 9th house rule in the 10th house, and directional strength, so it'd be amazing. But there'd be something secret about their job, or they could, there could be some ups and downs in the job, but or leave the jobs just suddenly. They could be that, just have that, but they'd be very successful, very, very good, very much of service to others too. In the 11th house, Sun will be debilitated, Moon will be the 8th house ruler in the 11th house. So, there's sudden gains, but sudden loss, everything can be quite sudden things to do with that could be very changeable. Of education, that you could gain from education could, but it'd be difficult because Sun is a bit like weak there too. So in the 11th house, friends could be very up and down, I would say. Gains would be up and down, so be careful about how you are with that. In the 12th house, obviously we don't really want Sun there. Moon will be debilitated, but I think it would be quite difficult. There could be some forms of addictions, letting go of bad emotions, holding on to things that don't serve you, and just pondering over them, that kind of thing, and holding on to bad feelings. So you need to just learn to release them. But then Moon will help that. Moon is 8th house ruler in the 12th house. Moon will just go through this transformation that will be like life-changing, really. So through difficulties, then success will come. For Capricorn Ascendant, this brings together 7th and 8th house rulers together. So, relationship, they'll be changeable. There'll be some changes and letting go and getting some healthy habits going on in terms of what relationships you go into by having very firm boundaries in place. Doesn't break any yogas, however. So if it goes in the first house, it's like 7th house ruler in the first house, nice and strong. You've got 2 luminaries there as well, which is wonderful. And Moon will also be aspecting the 8th house. So although they will have difficulties, they might go through a divorce, they might go through these difficult relationships, but nonetheless, they will perfect that. In the 2nd house of family, Sun will then be aspecting the 8th house. So the changes, although they don't like changes because their 8th house is fixed sign, when they go with it, then actually it will be good. And they learn through relationships, healthy boundaries, and how to self-love first so you can have good relationships. In the 3rd house, both of them are in friendly sign. So it just means that there's a mom and dad are quite communicative, family is quite creative, expressive family. They will all come from like a very... they like to communicate with each other regularly, really, that kind of thing. And they could also all speak foreign languages easily too, have nice voices because they're in a friendly sign there. And it brings 8th and 7th house ruler in the 3rd house. So they like communicating with their partner quite a lot. In the 4th house, Moon will have directional strength. Sun will be exalted. So that'd be amazing, because also it'll be aspecting the 10th house from their Sun. So he'll be shining there too. So yeah, so very happy family, very like those families that always see the glass always half full, always happy to be at home, and yeah, wonderful family. And in the 5th house, love their kiddies. Moon will be exalted, 7th house ruler in the 5th house, very romantic, love to do fun things with the kids, with the family, cinema, having day trips, parties, very romantic too. In the 6th house, obviously breaks the yogas, good yogas there, but they'll be very service oriented people, hardworking teachers, that form of thing. In the 7th house, Moon will be in own sign, and so it'll be 8th house ruler in the 7th house with the 7th house ruler. So this will obviously mean that there will be changes and metamorphosis will come through relationships, and they learn how to have good relationships with time. 8th house, then again, both if they're in the 7th or just generally speaking, it can be a divorce anyway, but Again, you know, relationships can have lots of ups and downs, sudden changes. And in the ninth house, brings seventh house ruler in the ninth house, which is lovely, really nice yoga, Raja yoga. Not very comfortable with the moon because moon can overthink and be quite critical in Virgo, as can the sun. So just got to make sure you don't pick on other people, you know, or your dad could be like that, where he's just quite picky, or he could be quite good at making things as well, you know. So that kind of being precise and everything is more to do with making things because of the nature of the sign Virgo. In the 10th house, sun is obviously debilitated, but it's got directional strength there. And so, you know, so it could be changes in the job. They could lose their job suddenly. They could have a secret job. They could, all those kind of things going on. They could also be off a healer, but it'll have directional strength. And it's also, you know, eighth and ninth house ruler together in the 10th house. So it does create a nice yoga anyway, but it will not be like the most successful, if you like. In the 11th house, moon is debilitated, so they can have issues with big groups of friends. It's also 8th house ruler in there, debilitated. So yeah, so it could be that they're quite fragile. They need to work on their emotional health and letting go, and just healthy relationship with self, with dad, with mum. They just letting go of anything that's holding you back. In the 12th house, I don't really like sun in the 12th house, but nonetheless, they both are in friendly sign. And what happens is sun is the ruler of the 8th house in the 12th house, difficulties, going through addictions, letting go, ending things. Some help, some real successes can come once they learn how to let go, once they stop holding on to things, once they deal with the addictions, once they deal with the health issues and everything, or maybe their parents have that, then all will be, you know, once they deal with that, more committed to everything else. Next ascendant, Aquarius. So for Aquarius ascendant, sun and moon being together brings together 6th and 7th house rulers. So this, you know, that is going to break any kind of yoga. But if they go into 6th, 8th, and 12th house, actually through difficulties, they can actually create some success. But it takes time to do that, particularly if it falls in Saturn signs, because it's long term. But generally speaking, in the first house, sun will be 7th house ruler in the first house, protecting the 7th house. So it creates a nice situation where it's actually protecting the 7th house of relationship. But there'd be quite a lot of arguments, not just with the partner, mum and dad arguing, but with others. They just come from that argumentative thing, you know. But it could just be that mum and dad are of service, you're of service, you know, that's what you do, you're a medic, you know. And in the second house, again, this is also a house of science anyway, Pisces. So the whole family could be very much to do with serving others, looking after others. Very, like mum could be a nurse, working in hospital because Pisces. In the third house, sun will be exalted and with moon. So again, you know, so it could be that they just literally they could do these helplines with work, you know, where they actually helping people with who've got like difficult mental health issues. They can help them on the phone, so they could have that real discernment of being of service to others. But generally speaking, those sun and moon they're both in friendly sign as well. So, and then in the 4th house, moon will have directional strength. This is like 6th house rule in the 4th house. So you could be a mother that's completely dedicated to looking after other people, selfless people. You know, they could be nurses, midwifery, healthcare workers. They could also just be careful also with your car. Make sure your car is always repaired well as well. But moon's got directional strength there, so it's nice and strong and it's exalted. So it could be that you have arguments with your mum and dad have arguments, that kind of thing. But the mother will win because the family is happy. You know, they want to create that happy family. In the 5th house, again, you know, there could be like health issue with a child, maybe difficulty having children, maybe you're in education of young children, young people, to, you know, adolescence. In the sixth house, it'd be somebody who's a nurse, medic, working, you know, to serve others. In the seventh house, the partner could be a medic, service to others. But it could be arguments or a divorce as well. But I see sixth house more to do with, it is litigation, but I think it's things that you can talk over and get better with time because of the nature of the sixth house. If they fall in the eighth house, there probably can be a divorce seen there because it's a sudden change of situation, and that could have happened to your parents too. And but generally speaking, though, eighth house, it could be that you're very much into research. Your job is to do with research, finding things. There could be something secret about your job, something secret about your partner, or your, as I said, mum and dad. In the ninth house, that could be that the relationship between your dad and your mum could have had some issues, some arguments. Maybe your education created debts, because obviously then also seventh house ruler is also debilitated in there. So there could be some issues with that, with foreign travel, with belief systems. They could be changed over time, or you could argue with other people about belief systems. Or definitely travel and higher education can create some debts for you. Or your dad could have had some money issues, problems, health issues too. In the 10th house, if Sun and Moon, so obviously Sun is got directional strength in friendly signs, so it's very good for work. And the work could be definitely working in politics, working in some form of, if you like, something secret to do with the government, some sort of government department dealing with secrets, behind the scenes, maybe even. Yeah, but Moon will be debilitated there, sixth house ruler there in the 10th house. But yeah, but it definitely can be a governmental job. In the 11th house, Sun and Moon, obviously both in friendly sign, but it brings sixth house ruler. So you could have some enemies amongst your friends. You could have some arguments with some of your friends, or not see eye to eye with them. And your partner as well could do the same, or mum and dad could have friends that are just like friends on the surface, but actually they could just create issues for them. In the 12th house, obviously what creates mum and dad you could also be like not very close to them. They could have had their own issues whilst you were growing up. There could be that you could have been adopted, or they could have been like, as a big 12th house, so they could be like maybe a grandma brought you up for a bit, you know, that kind of thing, until parents sorted their lives out. But it could also be that, generally speaking, mum and dad are just not very good at finishing things. They start a lot of things, but they don't finish. So there could be a lot of, and they both can be very much working in hospitals, behind the scene laboratories, things like that. So hard working, but hard working behind the scenes. And for the next one, Pisces Ascendant. Oh goodness, this is such a long video. So this is like what brings together fifth and sixth house ruler. So you know there could be issues with having children. The child could be slightly unwell. It could be education, creates debts, that kind of thing. These two coming together. In the first house, obviously what will happen, fifth, and this is yourself. So you need to look after your health. And romance is constantly on your mind with Moon being there. And so it could be a lot of expectation from the children, really, and we just let them be, you know. But it could definitely be somebody who's very much to do with working in service of others, you know, because Pisces as well, a medic, a nurse. In the second house, some will be exalted, and so sixth house rule in the second house, you know, somebody in the family that could actually create family debts there, you know, or create money, you know. Sixth house rule in the second is, but it will be sorted because it's actually also it's exalted. So but it could be somebody who spends a lot of money, you know, but they will enjoy kind of saving the money. They will also enjoy the family values and things like that. But there could be arguments in the family anyway, put it that way, because second house is family. So, and family debts as well. So, so also what will bring moon being there kind of helps that as well, because it's fifth house ruler there, you know, they adoring of their own children too. And then we have in the third house, it could be somebody who is quite, moon will be exalted there. And so actually helping others, helping friends, working together with friends in situations where, because some of your friends could be like your enemies, but you'll work at that and get the better, you know, in a way, soothe or iron out all the issues there too. And in the fourth house, so mother could have some health issues. Mom and dad could have argued quite a lot, you know, and home environment could have been a little bit, you know, difficult. But moon has got directional strength there, so whatever happens, the family managed to kind of have happy times together because moon is got good focus there. Maybe dad was a little bit like interfering in the kitchen or something. In the fifth house, it could be that, you know, as I said, the education of the child can bring some sort of debt to you. Having children might have been difficult, so it created some debt for you. And in the sixth house, similar sort of thing to what we just said, but this is not going to give, you know, this being together, you know, it's not very good for for the, you know that there's going to be like yogas are going to be broken. In the seventh house, bring sixth house ruler in the seventh house. So there's like always picking at faults at the partner, you know, that kind of children or partner does that. So just got to be careful not to, rather than picking at them, just kind of like be much more bigger picture rather than small picture. But this could be a family that everybody is very, very hands-on. Mum is hands-on, dad is mum is really handy, dad is really handy, they're really good at DIY, that kind of thing. So they help each other in that sense. In the eighth house, some will be debilitated there and moon will feel debilitated, so it's probably not a good situation there. But having said that, these could also be people who work with surgeons, you know, because it's eighth house ruler and sixth house ruler in the eighth house. It could be that they work in where they do surgery and stuff like that, but it will not, because sun is weak, so it could be that something that they don't really necessarily enjoy that job. In the ninth house, moon will be debilitated, and some will, both of them are in friendly sign anyway, but it could just be literally there will be education of children, could be, you know, create debts for them. Dad could be poorly as well. Ninth house, travel could create debt, you know, debts for them. So make sure you got money before you go traveling. In the 10th house, some will have directional strength, somebody who is obviously a teacher, works in the studio for the government, you know, some form of institution like that. In the 11th house, sun and moon, you know, moon will be aspecting the fifth house, looking after, but there could definitely be education of younger people there, some form of governmental thing going on there. In the 12th house, there could be medics working, some will be aspecting own sign, looking after. They could definitely work behind the scenes, be in education, educate maybe prisoners or something like that too, or youths, you know, where in the homes that they look after, you know, maybe slightly challenging children who've been through challenging things as well. But definitely it's a humanitarian sign too, and so it'd be this top job that really helps humanity as well. Wow, what a long video. Apologies for that. So stop sharing. Thank you for watching. I'll see you soon. Thank you.